So like the many different examples we just saw on the screen, tonight we're going to talk about how leaders change their environment. The past couple of weeks we've been talking about the idea of follow me. Jesus comes to his disciples. He comes to people who he wants a relationship with, and he tells them that they can be leaders, but ultimately how leaders have others truly follow them, biblically follow them to Jesus, is by us following Jesus as well. And so how can we change the environment of the lives of people around us? It starts with us following Jesus. So tonight the first question, as you've seen this short little clip and all these things, that you're just going to maybe answer yourself is this. If you could change one thing around you, what would it be? Think about your life. Think about your different circumstances. Each of these men and these women, they had things in their life that they wanted changed. And they didn't just sit there and complain about the things that were going on. They didn't just sit there and say, I wish somebody would do something about it. Each one of these that we just heard about put feet to action and actually instituted change that not only changed themselves and the environment around them, it changed the world. The world that we know it today is different because of the inspiration and the lives of these people who we just watched on the video. And so I truly believe that if we decide to do that, we can institute that same change in the environments around us if we choose to stand up and to make that change. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're continuing this Follow Me series with this lesson on the idea of leaders change their environment. I think one of probably the highest excuses that are given for why people continually fall into and do wrong things or don't be the person they want to be is because of the environment around them. The environment you put yourself in is a big factor that plays into the person you're going to become, because the things that you continue to allow to pour into your life will, over time, impact the thoughts that you think, the words that you say, and ultimately the person that you are. But we get to choose. We get to choose as individuals whether we are going to be changed by our environment or whether we're going to change our environment. Many of you sitting in here tonight, you would say, Ryan, we're doing this lesson on leadership. That's cool and all. You can talk about leadership all that you want to. But deep down, man, I'm just a follower. I can't help it. It's just my personality. I can never stand up. I can never truly be a leader. I'm just a follower. James Maxwell, probably the guy when it comes to leadership, says this in his book, Developing the Leader Within You. He says the most introverted person in the world, that means the person who will keep to themselves, who would rather be in their room without any interaction, that person will impact a certain amount of lives. How many lives do you think the most introverted person will impact in their life? Just throw out a number.
4.
150? Four people, okay. How many? Keep throwing them out. 1,000. 50. What?
Does the channeling process?
I don't even know what you're talking about. Throw out numbers. All right, how many?
10.
4,000. All right, he says 10,000. The most introverted person in the world, even through the course of their lifetime, will still impact 10,000 people. Now think about that. Even if you were the most introverted, you stuck to yourself, you didn't do anything, just through the course of your interactions with other people, and especially the day and age that we live in with social media, where, man, your face, your name, the things that you do are out there for so many people to see, whether they know you or not. You are making an impact on other people's lives. And the truth is that you are helping change your environment around you, whether you realize it or not. And you're either changing it for the better or for the worse. And so we're going to see tonight, how can we make positive change to our environment by being leaders? We're going to be in the book of Matthew again, chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. We're going to look at just a few verses and 2 points, but I think this simple message can show us something so great about what it means to be leaders. Read this with me. It'll be on the screen. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt should lose its taste, how can it be made salty? It is no longer good for anything but to be thrown out and trampled on by men. You are the light of the world. A city situated on a hill cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, but rather on a lampstand, and it gives light for all who are in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. We're going to see two things tonight on this idea of leaders change their environment. And the first thing is that your life serves a purpose. Your life serves a purpose. Each and every one of you have a purpose in your life. We talk about this all the time. And we talk about this because I think this point is so vital. A lot of you think that your life is pointless, your life doesn't matter. Through Jesus Christ, He gives you purpose. He gives you meaning in your life. Look at this analogy that's given. It's talking about the idea of salt. What does salt do? It adds flavor, right? It cancels out pepper, yeah. Salt adds flavor. It changes the things that it comes in contact with. And pure salt never loses its flavor. But here in the scripture, we see this idea of if a salt loses its taste, it's just thrown on the ground and trampled on by men. And pretty much what it's meaning in this day and age is, like I said, pure salt would not lose flavor. You could keep it, you could salt things, it was great. But when that salt started to be compromised by other minerals or other ingredients, when it was just out in the world, when it started getting these other impurities in it, then that salt would eventually lose its flavor, and nobody wanted to use it for food anymore. So the best thing they could use that salt for was to just throw it on the path that they were walking so that weeds wouldn't grow up. And so the writer here, Matthew, he's basically saying the purpose of salt is to change the environment around it and for people to use it for something good. But when the impurities come in, when things that aren't supposed to be in there come in, the salt loses what its true purpose is. And it's basically no better than the dirt on the ground because it's just thrown and trampled. And the truth is, man, you have such a purpose in your life. God has gifted you with skills and abilities. He has gifted you with a personality. He has gifted you with influence, like we just talked about. You influence people around you, whether you realize it or not. And we talked about this at FCA at the high school a few weeks ago. You want, or you feel like sometimes that you are alone. The Christian walk can feel so lonely sometimes, and that's what Satan tries to do. He tries to isolate us. He tries to make us feel like we're on an island. He tries to make it feel like nobody else around us actually wants to stand up and do good things. But the truth is, if more of you decided to stand up and live for Jesus, if more of you in your schools and in your homes and on your sports teams said, you know what, I don't want to keep doing this same old crap everybody else is doing. I want to actually do what I know God is calling me to do. I promise you there is more people that want to live that life than want to live this other life that's being offered to them. And you can probably even see that in your own life because you've probably fallen into the lies that you're being told that you have to live this certain way right now. And so instead of changing your environment, you're being changed by your environment, and you're doing things that you are lying to yourself, telling you that it's fun and you want to do it, but deep down you're miserable. Deep down you're wanting more. Deep down you're thinking to yourself, surely there's more to life than this, because you feel like the second part of that salt, you feel like the world is just walking on you. And it's because your purpose isn't being fulfilled. Your life isn't having the meaning that it's supposed to. And as a leader, you can step into your environment through your life and say, you know what, I want to change the environment around us. Several years ago, and I tried to go back and find this, the clips that we did, but I couldn't find them today. But we did a series called Thermometer or Thermostat. And basically it's the idea of this. Thermometers do what? All they do is measure the temperature of the environment around them, right? You stick a thermostat in a thing of cold water, it'll show a cold temperature. You stick a thermometer in a thing of hot water, it'll show hot temperature. It morphs to the area that it is in. Thermostats, however, change the environment around them. You put a thermostat on 80 degrees, the room will be 80 degrees. You put a thermostat on 50 degrees, the room will be 50 degrees. And as followers of Jesus, we're called to be that thermostat, that agent, that person who goes in and changes the environment around them for Jesus. But too many of us are like those thermometers. We're just going in and we try to gauge the temperature of the room. And if people are on fire for Jesus, then guess what? We're going to be on fire for Jesus. If people at church camp are going to raise their hand and make huge decisions and say they're going to serve the community, man, that's exactly what we're doing. But then the second we get into the schools, the second you get on your sports teams, and you gauge the temperature of the people around you, and you see that they're cold and turned off to Christianity, guess what you do? You turn off too. You quit. You throw in the towel. And instead of doing those things you were doing just a few weeks before, you give up. And God is calling you for so much more. He's calling you to be that salt of the earth. He's calling you to make a change because your life serves a purpose. But not only does your life serve a purpose, your life points to something. Your life points to something. Think about light. It's talking about you are the light of the world, a city situated on a hill. So why is it important to be light in darkness? Well, light serves several purposes. One, if there was not light in this room, you wouldn't be able to see me right now, right? Have you ever been in like a cave or something like that with no lights? It's like the most eerie feeling in the world. You can't even see your hand in front of your face. And honestly, that's probably how it feels for a lot of you in your homes or in your schools or on your sports teams. When you want to talk about Jesus, you feel like you're in that dark cave and the light of Jesus is nowhere to be seen. When you're out on the ocean, I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise or anything like that, but man, in the middle of the ocean, if you walk out on the deck, I've been on a few cruises, when the stars are out, man, it is one of the most beautiful things you could ever see. But when it's cloudy, it's one of the most like disturbing, eerie things you'll ever see because you walk out and you can't see anything. If it wasn't for the lights on the boat, you would literally be surrounded by darkness. And so to be an agent of safety in the darkness, piers and areas on the side, they'll have these lighthouses to show danger. And so whenever I was thinking about this idea of your life pointing to something, I found this video of the purpose of a lighthouse. And so we're going to watch this real quick, and then we're going to talk back to it. So let's watch this video of the purpose of a lighthouse.
So something that often goes hand in hand with a life-saving station is a lighthouse. See, these two things often are found in the exact same places. So you have a life-saving station where people literally go into the water and rescue people who are drowning, but you'll also have a lighthouse that produces light to warn ships like, hey, you're about to crash, you're about to hit the rocks, look out, turn your ship. So we're actually downtown Detroit right now, and I'm like, what in the world is there a lighthouse doing in the middle of Detroit? We're along the river, and I'm seeing this lighthouse. So I looked into it a little bit, and what I found out is this lighthouse right here is actually a replica of an actual functioning lighthouse. It's up in this place called Tawas, Michigan, a couple hours north of here on Lake Huron, where it's been there since it was built in 1876. They built this lighthouse where for over 100 years it's been shining this light. The light from this lighthouse literally goes over 16 miles out into the lake. So if you're a ship coming in, you can see it from miles and miles away because the light is so strong and so bright. Well, what they did is they made a replica of that lighthouse. They made a smaller version, and they put it right here on the Riverwalk in Detroit. And it's crazy because the thing about this lighthouse is, though it looks really good, and though it looks like a lighthouse, and though it looks like it could save people's lives, and though it's right on the water, and so a ship coming in could be like, oh, that's cool, a lighthouse. But the problem is this lighthouse doesn't actually produce light. And as a result of that, it doesn't actually save anyone's life. I think a lot of times that's what happens to us as followers of Christ. God has given us this mission to shine light. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. And if we're the light of the world, in order to rescue people and give people light, we actually have to shine the light. We have to bring them the hope of Jesus. We have to show them that Jesus is what they need. In a dark place, if you want to bring light spiritually, you have to bring Jesus to that place. If you're not giving people the love of Jesus with the message of Jesus, then you're not producing light, and you're probably just like this lighthouse here. You know, it looks really, really good. It's never going to save anyone's life.
though this guy looks like he was in like a 90s grunge band or something like that, his message and his purpose is spot on. That lighthouse, it looks great, and it looks like it would do great things, but honestly, it's pointless. It's decorative. And I fear that a lot of us are decorative Christians. On the outside, we look like we could shine the light of Jesus. On the outside, we look like we have a lot of good things going for us. But honestly, when we come in contact with our friends, when we come in contact with our families who are on that path, heading to the shore, going to head into destruction because they don't have Jesus in our lives, they're expecting us to shine that light of Jesus and show that warning to them. Because that's what we're called to do, and that's what we're supposed to do. But instead, we sit like this lighthouse in Detroit out in the middle of nowhere, not serving its purpose. And a lot of people are going to crash into the rocks because we're not doing what we're called to do. We're supposed to point people to something. And whether you want to or not, you're going to point people to something. You're either going to point people to Jesus or you're going to point people to the world. But the truth is, you're shining your light somewhere. You're either shining them to the person that will offer them hope and purpose, or you're shining your light somewhere else. It's the same idea of if you're walking down a dark hallway, you get your phone out, you swipe up, and you hit the flashlight thing. It would be dumb of you then to go like this and to try to walk down the hallway, right? That doesn't make any sense. That's stupid. You would be called an idiot if you did that. But yet so many of us, we have that light of Jesus in our lives. And when we get around other people, we cover it. And that's exactly what this says. It says, no one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket. In modern day terms, nobody turns on their flashlight on their iPhone and then puts their hand over it. It doesn't make sense. So why do we keep doing it? If we know it makes sense, if we know that it makes so much sense to follow Jesus and it doesn't make sense to follow the world, then why do we keep doing the thing that doesn't make sense? Why do we keep doing the thing that makes us feel horrible? Why do we keep doing the thing that keeps leaving us feeling empty and worthless? Jesus told us that not only does he come to give us life, but he comes to give us life more abundantly. And so many times we feel like we can take control of our lives and do great and mighty things with it. And the true thing is, instead of changing the environment around us, we let the environment change us. Tonight, I would challenge you and I would encourage you. Start being that agent of change in the environment around you. And that starts with having a relationship with Jesus. If you're in here tonight and you've never started that relationship with Jesus, if you don't know without a shadow of a doubt, if you were to die tonight, where you were going, it's as simple as the word faith. Do you have faith in Jesus? Do you follow Jesus daily? Do you know him? What do you think it takes for a person to get to heaven? You might think it takes great works to get to heaven. You might think that you can work your way. You know, if you just do enough good deeds, the goods outweigh the bad. If you just go to church and don't cuss and all these different things, it'll all fall out. But that's not the truth. Salvation is free to all of us. Jesus came and he died on the cross for your sins. And not only did he die for your sins, he died as you. He took your place. And that forgiveness that's offered through Jesus, it's available to you. But it's not automatic. You're not just going to be saved because you sit in a building. You're not just going to be saved because your parents are saved. And the truth is, it's impossible for you to follow Jesus under your own power and your own ability. The only way that you can come in a relationship with Jesus is for you to turn away from your wicked self, from your sin. And so many of you say, well, I'm going to live for Jesus, but I'm going to keep doing the things that I want to do. And that's not how it works. We can't keep doing what we want to do and be an agent of change in our environment. Because if we truly want to experience heaven on earth and one day live with Jesus forever in eternity, it takes us putting our faith solely in the person of Jesus Christ. So if you've never done that tonight, I would encourage you. When Grant comes up and he starts leading us in this last song, grab one of the adults in the room. Come off to the side. You won't be put on the spot. Nobody's going to make you sing a solo on stage or speak in front of everybody. We just want to talk to you about what it means to be able to change people around you because you've been changed by Jesus. The only reason I'm the person I am today is because Jesus Christ changed my life. Jesus came in and he showed me that I have purpose in my life and that he loves me, and that no matter how far I've messed up, no matter how far I've ran from him, no matter how bad I acted, he still loved me and cared about me and pursued me. So if you've never done that, then tonight, come and talk to one of us about that. Maybe you have given your life to Jesus, but you keep letting the environment around you change you. Tonight can be the night of change in your life. You can't go back and fix what you did yesterday, but you can change tonight what you're going to do the rest of tonight and tomorrow. And you can wake up and start deciding that you want to live a different life. You can decide that you want to change, that you want to be that changing environment. So tonight, maybe what you can do is go before God in prayer and just ask for forgiveness. Tell him, God, I know that I'm not living the life I need to, and I want to start changing others rather than being changed myself. So giving your life to Jesus, asking for repentance where you know that you need it. Or third, maybe you just need to encourage a friend tonight. Maybe you need to encourage a friend that you know is struggling, who you know needs that change in their life, but they need a little nudge, a little help, a little support. They don't want to do it alone. Like I said, there are more people in here who want to do the right thing than the wrong, but we just have to step up and be willing to do it. Are you shining that light to the darkness and helping people see that there is salvation for them? Or are you covering their light and letting the darkness overcome the people around you, making them feel hopeless, making them feel like they're all alone, making them feel like there's no salvation around because you have the light. As Christians, we have the light of Jesus, but it's our responsibility to show others to them. So the question tonight is, are you going to be a leader and change your environment, or are you going to continue to follow everybody else and be changed? The choice is yours tonight. What choice are you going to make?